For those of you that are coming in for the engine room chat for the very first time, this is a special segment where we speak to Bearlike, the lead developer and the lead for Game River, about what's happening in Mechabellum and what is to come. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the elephant of the room, Season 4 buildings. Now, before we talk about the specifics of buildings, I've noticed that there were 2 lightning patches that happened over the last week. And I'm just a little curious, what was the mood like in the office when you released these lightning patches? Could you give us a little bit of a sort of a juicy behind the scenes story about how did you come to a decision that now it's time to release a lightning patch, and then now that you released it 2 days later, now's the time to release another one? What was the mood like? Was there any funny stories that was happening in the office?
Well, I don't think there is funny story, but the 1.7 patch is a big patch, and we have been preparing for it for a long time. We even delayed it like 1 more week before releasing it, so we have been doing lots of tests to it, and we do have plans to change stuff after the 1.7 patch, like when we got more data. Then I think the 1.7 patch, I think many players' reaction to the 1.7 patch is like is not what we were expecting, which surprised us, and that's why we have to start the backup plan to move what we would gonna to like change based on more data a little bit forward, so make it happen earlier. So the 1.7.1 really don't like. I'm not really comfortable with the 1.7.1 patch because it's like it's just too soon. Like we still didn't have enough data for it at that time. But I think it probably is a change to the right direction, and it is what it is needed at the time. At the office, I think everybody is like not that like you would imagine like putting out a major patch like 23 hours after the last patch is like very chaotic, but it's actually not the case, I guess, because it's like we have been developing Mechabellum for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We get used to this kind of stuff, so it's really relatively calm. We do have some meetings about those, and people were doing some overtimes. Yes, but the mood here is like relatively calm. And for 1.7.2, that actually is planned. Like we released 1.7.2 at the Euro Thursday patch day. So it is a patch way in our plan, and we do plan to like for the next few weeks, like probably there's gonna be a patch every week, and we will tweak the game more based on feedback and the data. Like, but the 1.7.1 that patch, the 23-hour patch, that definitely is an emergency patch, and we have to like a bunch of people had to do overtimes for that. But overall, I think we are used to this kind of stuff. Like this is a live competitive game. Like so, you need to prepare for this kind of stuff. Yeah.
I want to unpack something you mentioned earlier. You mentioned you're not comfortable with the current state of the latest patch yet. What was your original intention and design philosophy for the buildings?
Yeah, I want to add it a little bit. I'm not comfortable with the 1.7.1 patch being that being that fast.
Okay.
Overall, I do think there are like improvement to be made as usual. Like, okay, then back to your original question, what's the design philosophy behind buildings? That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So our goal of adding buildings to the game is like to solve a ancient problem. Like this problem was right at the beginning of Mechabellum. That is run on round one. There is not enough information for players to analyze things, for players to strategize around. Like the board is completely empty. You only know what your opponents picked, but you do not know any of your opponent's units will be. That make the round one extremely make round one extremely random and like also if round one is random, it's gonna because on round one you actually place the most units in round one. Like later on you can only purchase like 2 units per round, but on round one, I think there are 7 squads of units that you need to place, but you have to place it blindly without knowing any more information on the board. So that was always a big problem. You just have to place several squads of units like without knowing any without any like position information from your opponents. So that's why we want to add something like basically the buildings are like terrain features. Like we want to add some information to the board, and so players can like strategize around it to form their own strategy. So there's basically because there's more information on the board on round one, that it will be more strategic. Otherwise, like imagine like we have 0 information on the board, then it's basically like rock paper scissors. Like in rock paper scissors, you have player have agency, like you can play rock paper or scissors, but you can play whatever you want. It seems not random, but the outcome of rock paper scissors is extremely random because you just play your hand without any additional information. So you do not know what your opponent's gonna do. You just pick one choice from rock paper scissors. That choice actually is illusion because it seems you have 3 choice, but all 3 choice is the same. You always have 50% win rate in rock paper scissors. Your only choice is you can play or not play. If you play whatever paper rock you choose, you always have the same win percentage. Like it's kind of anti-intuitive. Like you feels like you have all the agency. Like you can choose whatever hand gesture you want. Like, but the result is incredibly random. It's probably so that's the problem there. Like you can do whatever you want, but as a result of you can do whatever you want, the result actually is incredibly random because both players can do whatever they want, and there's no way to predict those your opponent's move. So that makes rock paper scissors essentially not a strategy game. Like it's definitely not a reflection game. Like you don't need a quick reflex to play rock paper scissors. Like it's basically sounds like even if being quick and strong is not affecting rock paper scissors, it must be very strategic. Like you have choice and your choice beats your opponent's choice. It sounds like a strategy game, but in the end, it actually isn't because there's not enough information for players to analyze the situation. And the round one of Mechabellum was always kind of like the rock, paper, scissors. That's what we have been trying to fix. So that's the main goal of the buildings, like add more information to the board so players have a more information to analyze to play around. And another minor goal is we want this to in the buildings in the game to provide different initial state of a game. So now you have different units, specialists, and the buildings on the board each time you play the game. So you have to be creative, and you have to analyzing the situation because there's just too many combination. Like you cannot really like memorize the best solution, like at least not yet. And so you need to do a little bit more analyzing on round one. Right now, probably too much, but you do need to do like think more on round one after the building addition. So that is a little more a minor goal, and then the last goal that worth mentioning is like the buildings will make the snowball situation like less obvious because the buildings can kill some units. You won't lose as much HP as before, and also like because there are buildings like you are less likely to completely guess wrong your opponent's position. So that will make it less snowbally. But that is a minor goal. Like if we can achieve that, it's good. If we can't, it's okay. Like our main goal is like solve the round one, no information on the board problem.
Okay. And how far, just roughly, do you think the initial launch adequately solve that original goal of reducing randomness and also give the agency back to the player? And then a follow-up question is, what unintended behaviors did you notice that also appeared with this new patch?
Yeah. So basically, I think even for the 1.7 patch, it achieved our initial goal. The problem isn't it is not didn't achieve our goals. Like the problem is it have like side effects, like the unintended side effects, like some kind of look like also some side effect we have anticipated. Like, but we just thought like we have more time to tweak it based on player feedback.
Could you give us an
Like,
example?
Yeah.
Like one of the
So
side effects?
basically,
Yeah.
one of the side effects like we have anticipated is like it's gonna completely change how you play the game, and so lots of your old strategy will not work. Like some old strategy will come back, and but some strategy of 1.6, like a lot of 1.6 strategy, not gonna work. That we already know. We just do not know how much people hate it. We didn't know how many people hate like losing their old strategy. Like in the aftermath, we understand it. Like this is Mechabellum have been out for a long time, and people have spending hundreds, even thousands of hours on it and learning it and learning all kind of stuff. And like imagine in chess, you just remove a piece or add a piece. That's
Right.
gonna make a lot. Yeah, it make people feel like their past hour has been wasted, like because all the old strategy are not working. So so we definitely understand like that the initial reaction is definitely uh, like understandable, and we should be more careful there. And another side effect is the impact on the whole balance stuff. It's definitely gonna, especially for example, Stormcaller. Stormcaller in patch 1.7 is very strong. We tried to nerf it in 1.7 a little bit. At that time, we already know it's probably not enough, but we do not know how much we should nerf the Stormcaller and how should we nerf the Stormcaller. We were trying to let's release this to the public and we gather enough feedback and data, and then we nerf the Stormcaller, moving Stormcaller out of the openings and also give it a 50 unlock cost. Those were already were our options before releasing the patch. We just do not know if it's the right time to do it yet. We want to collect a little bit more data, but in the end, I think there's many, when people are their old strategy is not working, and also there's a balance issue inside the game. People's tolerance for the balancing issue is significantly low. So we should anticipate that, but we didn't. So that's why we did emergency patch 23 hours after the initial release. So I have been doing this for a long time. A lot of stuff I should say it's coming, but I didn't. So that's my problem. Yeah.
No, I mean, first of all, thank you for taking time and give us the backstory. I mean, a lot of things you mentioned, I think players don't even realize because we only react to what we see, right? We notice, oh, my old strategy that's won me the last 50 games is no longer working. Boo, bad change, right? But in reality, I think you're trying to build a more robust game in the future. It's just that the transition right now is a bit drastic, but I do appreciate you taking time and of course with the team rolling out patches so quickly. I have some follow-up questions regarding buildings. A lot of it is community questions that I also want to know the answer to. You mentioned this before the buildings were released, that these are going to be Terran features. We're not going to be playing tower defense. But I just want to know, once again, what is the idea of forcing the building layouts instead of giving that as an option for the players?
There's two kind of options for placing the buildings. One is what we think probably gonna work. The other is what most people are asking for, and I think it's probably not gonna work. So the option where lots of people were asking for is let us build buildings at whatever place I want and at whatever time we want, round 1, round 2, round 10, doesn't matter. And I should be able to place buildings at whatever place I want. This solution actually is not really viable, as this is auto battler, all units move by themselves, and if we put basically if a building is something you place on the map wherever you want, it basically means it's just a unit that cannot move. And for that building, for units that cannot move be viable on the battlefield, it should be more efficient against units because they cannot move. The only reason is when units attack them, they actually are better than units. That's the only reason there. So basically, that means the better strategy for the players is just we lay out a bunch of building and put my units as far back as possible and waiting enemy running into my buildings. That's something like if you have an auto battler, but you have a building like static defense focus, that's gonna make like putting your unit as far back as possible the best solution. Like basically, if I have like 10, 20 walls on my map on the place I wanted them to be, and the best option is wait you to attack my wall and then I hit back. That way, all my wall should like have their value worth. But because you are on my battlefield, I do not attack your defensive building, so your defensive building just useless. Mm-hmm. So the best solution for both players is like let's put our units. Let's turtle. Like basically, for auto battle, both player turtle is not gonna work. It's gonna be very awkward. It's like everybody have 20 buildings and one unit, and that unit gets killed, and like everybody mobile beacon their unit back and forth, waiting the other, waiting the opponents attacking their board, all that stuff. So that's why like adding static units on the board is don't really work. With that being said, like if we are talking about the buildings for the first round, then that is something like just we have the unit customization part of the game where you customize your units. Mm-hmm. Like so, basically, if we give an option of customize your building layouts, then that can work. Like you can choose how many walls and cannons you want and on what place before the match start. Like in the customization interface, you just do all that customization, and that can work. But with that being said, it will add significantly more complexity into the game and make it less accessible to new players, and we are not sure about it being a good option. Like a lot of negative feelings about buildings is due to the balancing issue that happens alongside the buildings. Mm-hmm. Like if we balance it better, I don't think like the building patch would have as much problems. So I try to not to be too reactionary to this kind of stuff. Like there are people like better, stronger buildings and all that stuff. Like when we nerf the buildings in 1.7.1, a lot of people get disappointed. Like, well, now the Russian interface is back. Now that there's less building, all that stuff. So we try not to be too reactionary. We want to like take our time to analyze all that stuff. That's why I feel a little uncomfortable to release the patch 1.1 just 23 hours after the initial release. But I think I need to do that because the patch 1.7 is too unbalanced and it's making people not happy. Like if Mechabellum is a new game, like people never played Mechabellum before patch 1.7, then patch 1.7, we will like there still gonna be balance issue in patch 1.7, but it's not I'm gonna wait a week to like tweak it when I have enough data and all that stuff. But because Mechabellum is a game that released a long time ago and people have spent lots of hours there, the reaction is very understandable and we have to react quick. That's why we released patch 1.7 patch 1.7.1 that quickly, and that's why the 7.2 patch also is relatively quick. Like the patch 1.7.2 is the patch where I really want to release. The 7.1 is the patch like I have to release. The 7.2 is what I like what's really in my plan. But I think in the end it actually works after the 7.2 patch. I think the player base like feels much better about the buildings, and there are people who love the buildings, love building additions, and the people who don't really like the building that much also like things. Patch one, 7.2 is like a much better version. Like we plan to release another balance patch next week to address addition problems. Yeah.
How are you feeling about the current impact of the buildings on games meta? Do you I mean right now everybody's saying like aggro is all the rage because of buildings actually covering your weak side. How do you feel about it? And how do you feel about buildings helping aggro and especially tempo plays in the current meta?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My internet was broke for like
Yeah,
7 seconds.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
my question was, a lot of players right now are saying buildings are helping aggro meta grow in a big way because it covers the weak spot. From your data and also just from your personal experience of looking at games and the current state of meta, how do you feel about it? Is aggro really strong right now? Was that the intended purpose? Does building give tempo play a leg up versus the more traditional defensive plays?
Um, Actually, in our data, it isn't like favoring aggro play. Like 1.6 is the patch that's aggro is pretty strong, and the 70.2 from the data, the aggro play is weaker than patch than 1.6. So, and from my personal experience, I don't meet much I meet enough aggro players and enough standard players. I don't feel like it's a overly aggro patch or overly standard patch,
Mhm.
at least for 1.7.2. I think it's a relatively balanced patch in the sense of aggro and standard. Also, we don't really category strategy with like aggro and standard, but we do have those data because the player identify themselves as the aggro players and standard players. So we do have this kind of data. Like we check those data every week, like how many aggro play are there, how many standard play are there in the game. So we do check them, and for 7.2, I think it's relatively balanced patch in the sense of aggro against standard. But what we are more concerned is like some unit balance. Like we think there are some unit balance problems there. So next week we want to do more unit balancing, and we don't really aim for like well we want there's as many aggro player as the standard player, or we want us like we don't really aiming for like that kind of goal. What we aim for is like we want there be more viable strategy in the game, and we want the game to be more fun for most people. That's what we are aiming for.
Nice. Now let's talk about what's to come when it comes to buildings. What can you tell us about potential new building updates or just completely different buildings? Like, what are some of the new exciting things that you're working up in the lab?
Um, We do have some new buildings, but those are all like we have hit a pause on that, all that stuff. Like I think because 1.7 is not well received as we expected. We were expecting. So we want to spend more time to tweak existing units and buildings before we add even more buildings into the game. So there were like rocket terrorists and all kinds of different like unit factories and all that stuff. We made models of those, but it was all like we hit pause on releasing those. We want to do more balancing stuff, more quality of life stuff before we release additional more buildings.
Nice. All right. Well, let's talk about patch 1.7.2. That's the patch that you wanted to
Yeah,
release. So unit
yeah,
balances. First, let's talk about chaff clear. Right now, we
yeah.
have, in fact, that patch has made changes to all chaff clear units, right? We have Hound, Tarantula, Vulcan, Arclight, with the exception of Wraith, that's kind of escaped the chopping board. My question is, first of all, how do you feel about the value of these chaff clear units? Which one of them is still strong? Which one of them are you looking or you're looking closely to potentially make further changes to?
To answer this properly, it's gonna be a very long answer. Do we have enough time? I'm probably gonna like at least 10 minutes answer. Like the fact that
Maybe
most people think this, yeah,
try your best
yeah.
because it's a very popular question on Reddit. I had multiple people asking about the same question, so I wanted to hear your thought on this.
Okay, it's gonna be long. Okay,
We're
this
ready.
story is very long.
Okay.
The like a lot of people, especially high MMR people, and I think tournament spectators, uh, think that the biggest problem right now in Mechabellum is either one tarantula or two crawler. Like tarantula will be the initial problem, like tarantula is just too strong, and if you can think uh, like beyond that, then you will feel well. It's not because tarantula is too strong. It's because crawler is too strong, and there's not enough units that clears crawler effectively. Okay, that's for now. All the feedback or the question I received from all the players and streamers, those are the two steps. But the real problem actually is one like a two step beyond that. Like
Hmm.
like if you think like, well, I figured it out, like it's not because tarantula is too strong, it's because crawler is too strong. The thing is, crawler is not too strong. Like crawler do not kill all your opponents units, right? It's
Yep.
not like crawler just clears enemy board.
Carry
Like
crawler is
crawler
not
is
a
there.
strategy.
Yeah, carry crawler is not a strategy. So crawler is just there to die. And why do you have to make that much crawlers to win the game? And why is how fast can you clear enemy crawlers? It's very important in the game. That's because high damage unit is too strong against tanking units.
Hmm.
So that's one step beyond the crawler problem. So basically, you have to have chaff either crawlers or fan. Like crawlers will have like loose formation, fan will have like shield and all that stuff to shield your units against enemy long range high damage attack.
Could I
So
understand
then
this
there's yeah.
as a lack of diversification on chaff? And broadly speaking, chaff, which includes small but high quantity units like crawlers, but also tank. So right now there's a lack of diversification because if you're using tank, there's a lot of great options, which was what's forcing people to use crawler. Is that a correct understanding?
Actually, no. There's a additional step
Oh, there's more.
for
Okay,
that.
there's more layers.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay, there's more.
all right, let's
Okay,
go.
there's more layers. Basically, like you don't really like for chaff, like why do we have to have chaff as the tanky role? Like we can have like fortress, sandworm, and the titans and all that stuff, and rhino to be the tank choice. Why is crawler the most effective? Chaff. That is because in Mechabellum there's this unique quality of Mechabellum is where you can increase your units data like stats at least 900% because you can raise to level 9, and you can also put additional item on them, give them a tag that significantly increase their all kinds of ability. So like imagine in StarCraft, your Marine gets 900% attack. That's gonna be completely broken.
The emoji
So
Merc Marines. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, because in Mechabellum unit stats grows a lot, so there has to be hard counters for all kinds of stuff. Like if you have super high damage, then chaff is the ultimate answer because one crawler, no matter how high your damage are, a crawler will take one shot from you. But if we don't use crawler, I use fortress. Then my fortress needs to I need to invest infinitely more money on the fortress for it to tank as 24 crawlers against like stuff like mounting point and all that stuff. So because your attack can go that much higher than the original value, that means chaff is super efficient against high damage. And also because your HP can grow that much higher, 9%, 900% more, we have to have very high damage units like mounting point, like marksman, and like ignite, and like acid to counter those super high HP units. So that's the dynamic here. This means because mounting points exist, all the tanky units don't really tank that much. And because the high damage units exist, all the best tank is chaff. Best tank is chaff. So
The best chaff
the
is
real
crawler.
yeah, and the best chaff is crawler. Like if we nerf crawler, it's gonna be fan. Someone gonna have to tank the mounting point. Like if we delete all crawler and the fan, then it's mounting point straight into your tarantula, and the mounting point just wins every time. That's it. Like if everybody have like a delete enemy chaff button, then it became who have the longest range and who have the highest damage competition. So then the real answer here actually is first more chaff clear option, basically 5 crawlers, like a crawler gonna be like have a miserable life, but nobody cares. That's okay. Have more chaff clears. That's the step one. The other is have other tanky option. Other tanky option that includes like we need to add tanky option that are efficient against mounting points, and also marksman and phoenix. Like mounting point, marksman, and phoenix is the 3 most common damage resource. We need to have tanky option. Like before the tanky option to mounting point, marksman, and phoenix is just more chaff because their damage is so high. Like just make chaff and tank their shots. That's the option. But we should have other option. Like if we give Fortress lots of HP, Mounting Point is just gonna kill him. So Mounting Point is gonna get stronger. So the real answer there is one, more chaff clear, two, more mid-sized tanky units, and also make mid-sized units more tanky. That's the option there. And there's one more step there. So now we know mid-sized tanky
now we
unit
know
is
the interconnected nature of these meta upgrades. So thank you.
yeah.
All right, now getting to the good stuff. So you're talking about Mustangs. There's a lot of question on that too.
Not Mustang. The mid-sized tanky unit, I mean Sledgehammer, and that's Sledgehammer, and that's Steel Balls, and all that stuff. So basically, there's two best mid-sized tanky unit, Sledgehammer and Steel Ball, and with one that is not as effective, that's Phantom Ray. Phantom Ray, we just don't talk about Phantom Ray. Like we just for today, we just talk about
Phantom Rays.
Today we just talk about
Raymaster.
yeah. Today we just talk about the Phantom, talk about Sledgehammer and the Steel Ball.
Okay.
The problem with Steel Ball is like it is a heavy, like it is a tower rush unit. Whenever we make Steel Ball strong, it's always like very oppressive. Like it's always against enemy towers and all that stuff. So we need to find a way to buff Steel Ball's tankiness without making it oppressive on round one against enemy tower. And this come back to the building style. The walls actually was that. Like because we have a wall, the wall gonna be a mid-sized tanky unit that actually tanks Steel Ball and preventing Steel Ball rushing the tower. We can then buff Steel Balls. But because the wall didn't receive well, then we have to delay the Steel Ball buff. Because now if we buff Steel Ball a lot, it's gonna make your tower disappear at second 5 every round. So that's why we have to right now our option is find more ways to buff Steel Ball without threatening the towers. Then it also come to the other option, Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer is the problem is like Sledgehammer is excellent as a mid-sized tanky unit. Like it tanks Mounting Point, tanks Marksman, tanks Phoenix, tanks everything. Like it's the essentially best tanking unit except chaff. Mm-hmm. But the thing with Sledgehammer is it also is a chaff clear unit and also can do very decent damage. So if we make Sledgehammer more tanky, it will be the answer to all units. So basically it's gonna be Sledgehammer Overlord or Sledgehammer Mounting Point. I'm probably many of you still remember the Sledgehammer Overlord day, like where you just build Sledgehammer on the board, it kills chaff, tanks Mounting Point and all that stuff, and then you build your Overlord that kills everybody else.
Yep.
That's the tradition where we want to avoid. Like if Sledgehammer became more tanky, it should have like less effective against chaff or other units. So that's also an option we are trying to do. Then this all come around back to Tarantula because there's so many levels of problem, and so that's why like other units all have far problems. So the chaff is there. Then Tarantula clears crawler being too fast also became a problem. And then why didn't we change? Like Tarantula have been strong for a while in 1.6. Tarantula are already strong, right? Why didn't we change it? Because we are releasing buildings, and the buildings are gonna be the way the war gonna make Tarantula less effective, and so it do not make sense that we are already releasing buildings in 2 weeks, it's not make sense. Do not make sense that we also nerf tarantula because the building is gonna be a nerf tarantula. But then because the wall is not receiving well, we remove a wall and reduce the HP of the wall. That means tarantula now is without a nerf. So all this is connected. I'm probably talking too long for this. Maybe the chat don't really follow me. But okay,
it's good.
Okay, you understand what I'm saying?
I understand. I understand.
Yeah. Okay.
The only takeaway I got was that balls are gonna get buff, and I'm happy. I'm just kidding. No, but I understand.
Okay.
This is a very interconnected issue because it's not just about chaff or chaff clear. It's about creating a balanced mid-game board where you're encouraging players to use beyond just low HP, high quantity units as chaff.
Yeah. So all this stuff so for future, what we're gonna focusing on is better chaff clear option and better mid-sized tank unit.
Yep.
And for all the chaff, just like we just forget about the chaff. Like chaff do not counted. Do not have human rights. That's all. Like they're robots. They do not have a pilot in it, so they're just there to die. And yeah,
you heard it here first. Crawler lives don't matter.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for taking your time. And this also gives us a glimpse to the type of discussions that takes place at Game River, because I'd imagine what you're telling me, this is not the first time you're verbalizing these sort of concerns. So very interesting to hear. Yeah. Another unit I'm curious about is the Void Eye. Now, there's been like a very significant buff on Void Eye in the 1.7.2.
Yeah.
Could you walk us through the thought process for that?
The Void Eye actually isn't something we have our eyes on for a long time. Like we always thought Void Eye is like okay, but after 1.7.1, we found out that Void Eye actually is like, well, part of the reason is we are like getting better and better as data analyzing. Like we always thought Void Eye is like a decent unit, but with like last week we found out that Void Eye actually is the least used unit in late game composition. Like
when you said late game, you're talking round 6 onward?
We actually use this metric, like how many like how frequent would it be to be like what was the word? Like it's basically the carriness metric, like how much economy that unit is in the whole board. Like how many percentage of your economy goes to Void Eye or Crawler or Marksman.
Okay.
Like so if we like consider like if 15%, like 15% percent of the economy goes to a unit, that means that unit is a variable addition to your board. Like we find out like Void Eye in that metric actually is the worst unit. Like it was more than like it fits that requirement the least in all 31 units. Like even Titan units is more frequent to be part of the board than like Void Eye. But if we lower that threshold from 15% to 1, like not 1%, just one squad of unit on the board, then Void Eye seems decent. Basically, that means like Void Eye is viable for round 1, round 2. And if you start with Void Eye or like you start with something else, but you buy one Void Eye and give it energy absorption, it is viable. Yeah. After that, it's basically not a strategy. In the statistics, like in the data, the all Void Eye strategy is just non-existing. Like there are, but in the static sense, it's basically not no. Like it is less common than hacker. Like hacker have better chance to appear in later round than void eye. So basically that means void eye is the unit that only have one tech, that is energy absorption, and a tank for round 1 and round 2. That's the problem. So that's why we want to buff void eye's tech, make his later round tech cheaper, also buff his HP, but nerf the energy absorption a little bit. That's how we come to that conclusion.
Yeah. I see Kapalis in the chat talking about how Void Eye was only viable early because of the free tech. And I agree with him. I feel like the free tech gave Void Eye such a huge lure that people would just want to have very tanky 100 cost chaff units at the front. And what it does is in a way kind of stopping people from exploring the potential of Void Eye. That's my opinion, because I feel like once you've taken the free technology, you have less of an incentive to take a second technology, knowing that your Void Eye is on the front line and they'll probably be the first to die. And I don't want to invest right into a carry unit.
Yeah. And also, like, Void Eye is very important for us to be, like, we actually do not have 100 tanky unit. Like, we have 100 chaff unit. Like, basically, you kill it and it tanks the shot, but we do not have 100 high HP unit in the game. Like, even Hound do not have, like, much HP to tank a lot of shots from even fans. Like, so Void Eye was the unit where we wanted to have higher HP to be usable as a 100 tanky unit. Like if you have a lot of them, it can also should be effective both against Marston and Fan and against Mounting Point. So it's close to what we have been talking about, the mid-size tanky unit, but right now Void Eye is not tanky enough to do that. So we want to maybe increase its HP a little bit more in the future, maybe lower its damage a little bit more, but increase its HP a little bit more in the future. But we will need to be very careful, because mid-size tanky unit actually is the most, like, one of the most unhealthy unit type, where they have this tendency that anti everything. So we need to buff it a little bit, but be careful not buffing it too much. Yeah.
Nice. In the recent patch you mentioned, there is going to be a open test server. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Why that is happening, and what do you expect to achieve with that?
Yeah. So basically, we have been doing like closed beta test server for a long time. It works decent before, but especially for patch 1.7, it didn't really work. We have testing on that server for a long time, and we even delayed, like, gave it 1 more week to test more. But the truth is, we don't really have enough players there. So even the player who really want to test it cannot find opponents to test with easily. So that means the data there is, like, the amount of data we collect from that server is really small. So if we don't have enough data, we're just gonna relying on people's word and the matches we spectate, and that's just too unreliable. Like, you can, like, because some players are just essentially strong. Whatever he uses, he beats other players. Like, that means the unit is too strong, or is the players too strong, or is this unit happen just fits that player's playstyle? There's just, like, basically we need data. Like individual matches, that's just too versatile for us to really analyzing. Like we tried it, we thought we can like click data that way. But 1.7 tell us no. That way don't really give you viable data. Like for viable data, you have to have the data size. You need to have enough sample to really understand this. Like to try to understand by watching matches between two players. That's just not it's not working on a larger scale. Also, I will understand like because this is Mechabellum have been out for a long time. Like the player don't really have tolerance for you to completely change their how they play the game. At least you cannot do it with an unbalanced patch. So a balanced patch is very important. You cannot like release like a completely new version and there's a lot of unbalanced stuff and you also take your time to collect data and put a patch out 1 week later. That's just not gonna suit for Mechabellum's the current stage of Mechabellum. Like if the building patch was like we put out the building patch 2 years ago, I don't think there's gonna be much problem. But right now we need to be more careful. So open test server is what is needed, but it's gonna take a lot of work to set it all up and all that stuff, and also have the infrastructure and personnel to properly supporting the test server and collecting feedback and data there. So it's gonna take some time, but we are working towards that goal.
Now that brings another question. Right now, I think in the test server, not only we look at information from data, but there's a lot of anecdotal information, right? The players do, because I'm in part of the beta or test team, and I see
Yeah.
posts being made, and people are very vocal about certain things. Once it's open up to open beta for everyone, what is your approach in weighing player feedbacks versus your own analysis with data and your own vision of what things should be? How do you weigh these three streams of information that will influence your decision making?
Yeah, so basically, like on the closed beta test server, what we were trying to is we just want to rely on feedback the most, and we thought we are smart enough to analyzing the feedback and understanding the real problem. But in the end, it's probably just like we are listening to the loudest voice, and so we are still gonna listening to all the voice, but this time on the public test server, we're gonna have data to back it. Like basically, if you are saying something, but the data completely do not agree with you, then like your feedback is still like viable because that's at least opinion of one. That's still viable, but like we will have a better understanding of how much how well spread that opinion are. So basically, what we are looking for is we listen first, then looking for data to back it. Like if the data backs it, and then we take it very seriously. Yeah.
Nice. All right. I'm looking at the time here. I know it's like 1:40 in the morning in China, so I don't want to drag this interview for too long. There's a lot more questions this time, so I'm going to.
It's okay. I sleep very like
You
I
don't
have
sleep.
very fast up sleep schedule. Yeah.
All right, I'll try to get through some of the juiciest questions. But
Yeah.
if there are some questions that I haven't had a chance to get to today, we'll move to the next one. I know this has been a
Yeah.
while since our last engine room, so we'll try to adding an extra episode for the next one. But we're gonna continue on with some questions. So first question I want to know is regarding. Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit more about units. I think the last time we spoke, you mentioned right now the unit roster is fairly stable. I'm curious if anything has changed since last month regarding new units, and also what is the updates on bringing some of the rare units. So right now we still have two rare units. We have fire badgers, we have typhoons, that are looking to be integrated into the regular roster. What is the status on those?
Yeah, so there's a question about the drive unit, and what's the question before that?
The other one is there any changes, perhaps new units coming in the future?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna talk about the unit change in a whole. So we are adding more text to units, and it's not just Typhoon and Firebadger. Like we also are adding new tag for fan and Arclight.
Exciting.
So yeah. And it's actually related to like traffic clear stuff, and also we are adding tag to help units to be more tanky. And we have one more completely new unit this year. Like the model is done. I don't want to hype up this too much. Like I don't like the balance wise. Yeah. The balance wise, it's not gonna be too impactful, I think, but it looks good. Like I like the model. Like I like the model. I think anyone who likes robots probably like that model. Like it's one of our better unit models, and it should come at the end of the year. And we are in the period where we are like still designing stuff around it. The model is good, but there are a lot of stuff we need to tweak before we can release it. And for Firebadger and Typhoon, Firebadger is coming out super quick. Like that actually is one of our like it's both a mid-sized tank unit and the chaff clear, so it can solve some problem, and it's also very dangerous because mid-size chaff clear is very dangerous. So I'm kind of nervous about Firebadger remake. Like there's two tech coming to Firebadger, and we completely remade the Firebadger model. Like we changed how it looks and also add stuff that reflects its tech changes and all that stuff. And so the Firebadger gonna be coming out pretty quick next season. Typhoon is the one that we think there's a lot of Typhoon fans. Like a lot of people like Typhoon. Not even because how it works in the game. I think most people like it because it have two Gatling guns.
It's cool.
So basically,
It's great looking unit.
Gatling guns, cool. Yeah. So we want to completely remake Typhoon and give it new tech and tweak its role in the game, and also make it look even better. But the two Gatling gun is not going anywhere. Like it's still gonna be a unit with two Gatling guns, but yeah. But the Typhoon remake is a little bit trickier. Like the attack pattern of Typhoon is very similar to Maston, which is historically a very tricky unit to balance. So we will be actually careful about Typhoon. So Typhoon will coming out at a later date, which I cannot confirm what is the date because we haven't finished our tweak on Typhoons. And on the upside is like although Typhoon's attack pattern is very tricky to tweak, I think Typhoon will be like Maston, where like people will have a better tolerance for it to be overpowered. Like this is one this is one little peak in our data that is Maston, like historically always has been like one of the most used units, but
Mm-hmm.
people like have very high tolerance to Mustang. like that is one thing we always notice. We don't really know why, but that's this is like people rarely complain about Mustang. Like if any other unit gets the same peak rate as Mustang, there gonna be a like storm there. But for Mustang, like many people of you may remember the EMP ammo and parasitic
Parasitic
ammo
ammo? Oh, good times.
era. Yeah, like the player even live through that. Even live through that. At that time, Mustang is just completely busted. And people actually like there's not like a big anti-Mustang campaign going on. But if imagine like Mustang have EMP ammo and Persec ammo, that was very like broken. That was very broken. But people like somehow like people is okay with that for very long time. That is something we're always trying to understand because our goal of balancing is always want people to have more fun. Like it's not about every unit being equal. It's always about being having more fun. We always want to understand why is like Master is this unique unit that is so fun. Like people want it to be broken and something like that can. so I think Typhoon have that potential. So, but we need to be very careful. But maybe there are gonna be lots of people like it. I think.
Yeah. I mean, chat and also for whoever's watching it on YouTube, I mean, feel free to leave a comment on how do you feel about Mustangs? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Does it not matter? Just like the crawler, let us know. Now, earlier you
Yeah,
talk about technologies. So I do have a question on technologies. Um, is
yeah.
there any technologies that changes the mechanic of how a unit behaves? So, for example, assault marksman or siege scorpion. Will we see more technologies of a similar nature?
There is one tech coming to fan. Uh, like, well, this is just what we are experimenting on. I'm not. It's not a guarantee it will come out. Basically, fan can change its weaponry to be an ground only, chaff clear weapon. Uh, and so basically, it lost its ability to attack air, but it can clear chaff better. And so that is one thing we are experimenting on, and there are multiple tech like that we are experimenting on to also another tech similar to that is for Typhoon. Like that is also like we want to make Typhoon somehow like suddenly if you have this tech, Typhoon cannot be an anti-air uh, unit, but it clears ground unit much quicker or maybe have a longer range. All that stuff. Those are stuff we are experimenting on. So it's like there are gonna be tags that change your targeting uh, directions, like make you unable to attack something, but make you like much effect against something else. But all that is just like it's still we are still experimenting on those. I don't have a date for to release those kind of tag.
Hmm. One thing that I always thought Fan might be really cool to get into, since he's already got the shield, is to give it some extra armor and a big sword. And it would just serve on the front line, slashing crawlers like a zealot from StarCraft. That would be
Yeah,
interesting. It's like Assault Fan, but more of a melee focus.
yeah. Melee folks, that's gonna be like a mini Rhino something. Basically, Hound with like less range, I guess. That's what you are thinking about.
Nice. I got a question about skins, specifically about more Gundam looking skins.
Yeah,
We have right now the mobile force, and well, maybe you
yeah,
can comment on skins in general. Like, what is the
yeah.
roadmap with skins, and is there going to be more Gundam looking skins?
Um, there are gonna be more skins and prettier skins. I understand like a lot of people don't like think the skin that we have right now are not pretty enough. So we are working on that, and not just skins and other cosmetic options and stuff. And we want to release it at the end of the year. We are not sure. I cannot
Mhm.
confirm that, but we are working on lots of like we want to give players more options to customize the look of their units and even loading screens and many other elements of the game. We want to offer more custom options, and in the process, we would like to make money on that too.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna
Well,
say
I
that
would I
yeah,
would love to support
it's
the
all
game, right? I
yeah,
if
yeah.
new skin, I love to buy them. Yeah.
Yeah, basically we want to give players the option to like support us if they want. I do think there are many players want to support us. So the thing is we haven't been provide enough options for them. Like we need to provide good options where they feel good supporting us, and that is what we are actively working on. And I hopefully it should be released around the end of the year. That is what we are aiming for, but I cannot confirm the date yet.
Mhm.
Yes, but that is something we are working on.
Awesome. I have a few more questions around tournaments. So last time we spoke, we point out that there is a community tournament tab in there. First of all, any updates on in that specific area, allowing community organizers to have a better control over how they run their tournaments?
That is I probably uh didn't talk about that right. What we have added to the game is where community tournaments organizer can promote their tournaments inside the game, not necessarily uh control the tournament not has still gonna be uh organized by the tournament organizer themselves
Mm-hmm.
in the near future. But we have added a option to promote the tournaments inside the game client. That is the community tournament page. But with that being said, we haven't been using that page yet. It's because there's too much stuff going on. I intend to use that page soon. We just need to collect pictures, descriptions, all that stuff from our tournament organizers, and we promote the tournament inside the game client. Like but it's there's lots of stuff happening, so we didn't have the people to do that yet. But I'm working on it, and we are gonna gathering more information for to about community tournaments, and we will utilize that community tournament page in the game. And in the future, we will looking for more options to promote the community tournaments inside the game. We will do it more, add more features to it, and essentially, I hope we can make it possible to organize uh, tournaments inside Mechabellum via official tools, but that isn't something very near. For now, we will be focusing on promoting community tournaments uh, inside the game client. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Speaking of tournament, well, there was an idea of doing like a blitz tournament. I know Rooster posted a wonderful video of like a 30-second per round blitz game, and
Yeah.
it was very exciting to watch. And I figured
Okay.
that might be a great way to start.
Yeah.
And also, I'm just thinking because if you're rolling out beta test server, some of these rotational ideas may be easier to test, not just units and new technology, but sometimes it's just tweaks to the games in general, like having artificial caps on time and stuff like that. That might be an interesting thought, because then you can start rolling out like weekly challenges, like you see in StarCraft, that you know adds artificial restrictions that makes things a little different.
Yeah, I do think like events is a very interesting idea. Like with saw Hearthstone do it. There's always like some strange rule Hearthstone events happening in that game, like all the time. And I do think like in the long run, we need to add special events to the game where you can choose to participate. Like this week, we have like everybody have 2 more supplies on round 3, and next week like the timer is shorter, or next week like we ban crawlers. Something like that. That like I do think like the events it needs to be more interesting than what I just said. But
Oh,
like
I'm
sure, like a special rules events.
I'm
Yeah,
sure the community's got you covered on that front. If
yeah,
they
yeah,
ask the
yeah.
community, you're gonna get a spreadsheet so large that your head's gonna explode.
Yeah, yeah. We also can like testing interesting ideas through those events. Like if we roll out buildings as a special events, we probably like have a better, like less stressful, stressful release, right? Yeah. So we need more like we need to set up a event setup where we can test all kinds of different ideas, like on the public server, not even on the test server. Like we need to have like the infrastructure and structure to like have strange rule events and all that stuff happening inside the game. That is definitely something I think is very important for the longevity of the game. The thing about it is it's gonna take some time, and it isn't currently on this year's roadmap. But that is definitely something that we need to consider very seriously for future development. And yeah.
Mhm. Speaking of roadmap, I understand in the past, because the game was in such a rapid growing phase, it's difficult to predict like when exactly things will happen. But now things seems to be a bit more stable. Would you consider releasing a longer roadmap to the public so that we can see and also expect when things are generally going to happen? I think that's usually a healthy way of keeping the community informed.
Yeah, we have been trying to release roadmap for several times, but like take the recent uh, like we have lots of stuff planned around buildings, and now we like those are completely changed. So the roadmap is like
Still changing.
changing all the time, and like changes a lot. So I still want like somehow we find a way to release some kind of roadmap. But the thing is, we need to be really careful about not disappointing people. Like like if on the roadmap we said like this, there is this feature, but then something like happened, like we need to completely change it, and then we run the potential to like disappointing our player base a lot. So that is like mm, that is risky. Like it's, I think not risky. It's tricky to manage the expectations. Like especially when you're releasing a long roadmap, and somehow you do not follow it. Like, but in reality, for Mechabellum, like uh, we like change the roadmap, do not follow the roadmap all the time. Even the internal roadmap changes a lot. And like after the 1.7, the roadmap gonna change a lot, and all that stuff. That's so I do like, at least for the very short near future, probably we won't release a roadmap. We need to do more regrouping of our plan based on the feedback we collect so far. Like we definitely want to rethink a lot of our strategy here. So after we done enough regrouping, maybe, yeah.
Hey, no pressure. I mean, I understand where
Yeah.
you're coming from because Mechabellum, the reason I feel the Mechabellum is successful is because of these constant reflections on the changes that you make, right? That you're listening to the community, you're looking at the data, and you're not afraid to undo certain changes because it makes the game less fun. So all of those is difficult to capture on a roadmap because once you, for example, make a meta adjustment, that is going to have a cascading effect, like you explained at the beginning of today's podcast. So it's difficult to predict what's going to happen unless you're having, a roadmap purely focused on new features. But even then, like the building, for example, uh, is hard to predict. You know when it's going to launch, but you don't necessarily know the step two with certainty.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I have a interesting idea to toss your way, and that's related to tournaments. Specifically, is there to address the issue with abandonment. So player coming, they play one game and then they lose a game,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, okay, not worth it. I can't get to top three, whatever, and then they just leave the game. So the suggestion
Yeah.
was, what if there's a system where you get to keep your minor points, or some type of point. It doesn't have to be minor point, but some type of tally that rewards you from sticking to the end of the tournament. And then at the end of the
Yeah.
month, where you have these, end of the month with special badges tournaments, um, that you either get special badges based on your total points, on top of your winnings of the final tournament, or it becomes a qualifier to that end of the month tournament. So tossing an
Yeah.
idea at you. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. That's very interesting. Like we definitely should do more for the tournaments participants. Like right now, there's not enough reward for participating in a tournament. We definitely want more. Like there's a lot of options. Like we don't really want to like gateway people from the end of the month special tournaments yet, but what you have been talking about definitely like make some sense. Like we do want like reward, not necessarily like I do think like if a player like do not have like lost a match and he do not want to participate in the tournament more, like they should have the option to leave, but we do need to providing more provide more like rewards for whoever plays the tournaments and stick to the end, and also like the minor points structure. Right now, what we have is like it's a problem like where if you like quit the tournament early, the person who fights you before actually gets punished by have a lower minor points. That's also a problem. Like we definitely want to fix that too. Like I don't can't really like right now what we are working on actually isn't revolving like uh, the tournament stuff, so I can't promise changes will come to tournaments quick. But we are like right now we are focusing on a bunch of quality of life uh, stuff and so quality of life like to general, not
Like
just to
what?
tournament.
Like what kind of
Um,
quality of life?
One idea is like highlights like high damage unit on the battlefield as an option. Like you can choose to highlight maybe top one, top two, or top three your highest damage and high unit or highest damage taken units, all that stuff. Like basically help people to analyzing their battlefield. better. Like we already have the data there. It was always a plan. Like basically we need to learn from the other auto battler where they have like better stats about all units on the field. But we want to do it carefully. I don't want players have the feeling that they are playing a spreadsheet. Like some of the auto battlers have this
Yes.
list panel on the side, and like
Yes.
basically you are looking at the bar, how long which bar
Yeah,
goes, and
dictionary.
then
Yeah.
make your decision. Like Mechabellum still is a game about counter and about position, about strategy. I don't want like make the game feels like a data analyzing game. Like we still want it to be a battlefield. So we're gonna be extra careful there, but we do want to add more tools for players to analyzing the battlefield, both during the battle and after the battle. But during the battle will be our focus right now. Like we want better UI and indications and that stuff and helping players there. Yeah.
Nice. Look forward to that. Well, I think that's all the questions I got for you today. And first of all, thank you very much. I know this is a longer segment than how we usually do it, but I think we got some great answers today, and also some great insights on how some of these decisions are made. And it's not always in a vacuum. It's not always affecting a single unit. So definitely next time when we're seeing these new metas coming, for me personally, I'll be keeping that in mind. So thank you very much, Bearlike. Thank you everyone for joining in today. And as usual, this will be published on my YouTube channel and with an accompanying transcript and summary, so we can all enjoy Bearlike sharing his insights with us. So thank you all very much, and hopefully,
Thank you for doing this with me. Thank you
yeah,
very
thank you,
much
and
for,
hopefully
for
we'll see
creating this
you.
podcast.
Yeah, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, take care,
Yeah.
everybody.
See you next time. Yeah. Bye bye.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.